Hey guys, welcome back to L&D Home. We are staring at the kitchen cabinets today because we are going to be painting them. So let's start by taking a look at the cabinets and what they used to look like. This is actually what our kitchen cabinets looked like when we purchased our home about, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago. And we originally painted them white with just some white cabinet paint that we found at Lowe's. So it's not going to be a huge transformation in today's video because, well, this is what they look like now. They're already white, but they are very dingy. There's spots that are chipping, spots that have completely rubbed off, and I didn't do a super great job the first time that I painted them. There's definitely some spots that you can see maybe needed another coat for sure. First things first, when you start this project, you have to take all of the doors off. Now, this project is going to take several days. And that's one thing I want to warn you about before you paint your cabinets, especially if you're going from a different color. I remember the first time I painted these cabinets, it took me forever. I had to do like 2-3 coats, sometimes 4 in some spots, and it still was not great because I was going from such a dark kind of wood to a lighter color. Another tip I want to give you is to label your cabinet doors so that you know exactly where to put them back on. I just used some painter's tape and a Sharpie to help me do that. So the first time I painted these, it took me so long because, well, it takes a long time to paint cabinets, but also because I wasn't very good at it then. I hadn't done very many home projects except for in our previous house when we were getting ready to sell it, and we did a lot of that work together, and I wasn't really great at it then at that point. I am going to be testing something new that I have not used on my cabinets before in this video. So even though it's going to be a white to white transformation, I do want you to stay tuned because I do have some tips and tricks for you guys.
You got a smile that makes the sun rise. You make it shine, but I can see that you don't realize, and that's what made me fall in love. 'Cause you got style, the way your body makes my heart beat sound. It's amazing.
I wanted to share another tip I used with you the first time I painted. On the hinges, I actually wrote in red Sharpie T and B. That meant top and bottom, so I knew exactly where the hinges went. I also put the hinges in a little baggie and labeled it the same as the door. Now, I'm not going to be using these same hinges this time, so I wasn't really worried about all that when I took them off, but if you are going to be using the same hinges, I would suggest you use a little bag labeled T and B so you know exactly where they go, and put them in a baggie with a corresponding number for your cabinet door. The next thing you want to do is clean. I am using a mixture of just vinegar and water because I have cleaned my cabinets recently. I even got up on top of there and cleaned. I would suggest a degreaser, but since I had kind of already done that in my spring cleaning, I decided that this was going to be enough. But you want to get in there and you want to scrub. You don't want anything that is going to cause your paint not to adhere to your cabinets. Any grease, any grime, any food particles, anything like that. So make sure that you get in a really good scrub. Now, I am going to be doing all of the framing first because that's what I'm going to be painting first. And as you can see, that wear and tear has been real. You're also going to want to clean your doors, but that is something that I do as I go. Since I'm painting the frame first, I don't clean my doors at that same time. So I'm worried about the framing first and then getting everything taped off. Now, the only thing I taped were the 2 sides where it met the wall and the microwave. I'm not worried really about taping anything else, but I don't want to get white paint all over my walls that are the color that I would like them to stay. These cabinets were not put together very well when they were put up, apparently, so there is some gapping. That was there the first time as well. I'm going to be re-caulking. I had already done this in the previous paint job that I had not recorded because we were not doing YouTube at that time, but I am going to be caulking some of those seams just to make sure I get more of a seamless finish when I have my painting all done. So if you have any spaces or anything like that, I would suggest going ahead and caulking that. And the caulk that I use has a 20-minute dry time. It is paintable, and you can start painting painting within 20 minutes. I will have it linked down below. I've used it in several other videos on this channel. I absolutely love it because you don't have to wait forever for it to dry. A new product, however, I'm going to be testing in today's video is Beyond Paint. Not sponsored, but Beyond Paint, if you would like to sponsor me, go ahead. I would love for you to sponsor me. But I have just been seeing this all over the YouTubes and decided to just give it a test. What it is supposed to do is it's supposed to bond to any surface because it has a bonder, a primer, and like a sealer all in one. You're not supposed to have to do any sanding. The only prep work is to clean your surface really well. Now, let me tell you, this paint is thick. She is a thickums, and she stinks. I had to open the sliding door because this paint is so strong. So just be aware of that. It's not a bad paint. I will talk about it a little bit more as we go along, but I was not expecting the smell. I did not hear anyone else on YouTube talk about the smell of the paint. So when I started pouring it out, I was like, oh, good God, that is obnoxious. So it is a very strong smell. So if you're sensitive to smells, maybe this isn't the paint for you. Maybe wear a mask, open all of your windows, something like that. Just be prepared that it is very thick and it is very, very sticky.
You and know it's alright. You read my mind, but I can see that you don't realize, and that's what made me fall in love. 'Cause you got style, the way your body makes my heart beat sound. It's amazing all the time. You are the only thing I need in life. Oh, I want you.
Since the paint is so thick, I was really having trouble with the roller and it wasn't really rolling. So I don't know if I was pushing too hard or what, but I had little paint splatters all over my countertop, which made me really, really nervous at first. But I just used some vinegar and this plastic scraper, and most of them came right up, no problem whatsoever. Of course, this was right after I did the first coat on the base. So just keep an eye out for that. It doesn't necessarily roll on like regular paint because it is so thick. So I was noticing that my roller was not wanting to roll, and I was using the suggested roller that they said to use. Another thing that I really noticed was there is some texture with this. With the previous cabinet paint I had used, I did not notice this texture at all. So I was definitely a little bit nervous at first about how it was turning out.
The love, yeah.
Okay, so many hours later, I wanted to take a look at our first coat. There's definitely some texture. It's not like super noticeable unless you're like really looking at it. Let's see. Don't know if you're gonna be able to see. There's definitely some texture. I don't necessarily love that. But I don't know if a brush would be better either, because you can kind of see the brush stroke. So it does say to use, I believe, a 3/8 nap roller, which is what I'm using. So I don't know if a foam roller would be better, but it doesn't suggest a foam roller. So I'm using what it said to use. I did do a test. Oh, of course, I got a piece of hair in there. I did do a test on one of the doors before I left. I mean, it's pretty decent. It's pretty decent. I think it does help that they were already white. So I think that's like helping me out a little bit. So I think I'm only going to need one more coat. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I was really worried about that texture, But I have to tell you, I'm not bothered by it at all. Now that the project is complete, it really does not bother me. I have heard that the reason the paint has that kind of slight texture is because it's supposed to help cover up imperfections. And that makes perfect sense. That's why I use flat paint on my walls, because I don't want any sheen at all on my walls. For one, I just don't really like shiny paint. But for two, it helps cover up any imperfections. And Lord knows we have a lot of imperfections in our walls. So I don't hate that idea. And actually, once the project was all done, didn't bother me one single bit at all. But just know that if you're not used to that or you're not prepared for that, because most cabinet paint is supposed to be very smooth, it is going to throw you off a little bit. So I did just kind of want to throw that out there, that I was tripping over the texture at first, but actually everything ended up completely fine. But this is why I am trying this for you guys, and I didn't just buy regular cabinet paint, the same one I had used before, because I wanted to test something out and give you my honest thoughts on the product. And my honest thoughts were, oh my God, what have I done? This is not going to look good, which turned into, oh, this is perfectly fine. I actually really like this paint. So no worries there.
We do this every day. We do this love for life. You got a smile that makes the sun rise. You make it shine. But I can see that you don't realize, and that's what made me fall in love. 'Cause you got style, the way your body makes my heart beat. It's amazing all the time. You are the only thing I need in life. Oh, I want you. Can't you see? I want you. I believe, 'cause I want you here with me. I'm going crazy.
Another tip that I would have too is to really do more at one time. So this took me so long, I think because I had both of my kids on all these days that I was working on this. So I was like doing it, and then I would go out to the pool with them, and they were kind of running around, and I was afraid to kind of mess up the entire house with this project, and it was just too hot in the garage for me to do it outside. But you get it done a lot quicker if you really just assembly line everything up. So that's what I started doing here, but I could only fit 3 doors here. And I didn't want to take up every space in the house. We also have 2 dogs that, need to be like out and about. I didn't want dog hair all in my wet paint. So I had to work in small batches, which took me quite a while. But I think if you have a space where you can kind of lay all of these doors out, you're going to be much better off for it. So I would suggest that. But just know if you don't have that space, you're working in a tight, small space, or you have kids or pets and you just can't take over the whole house, you can absolutely get this done. It's just going to take you a little bit longer. And you know what? That's okay.
I know you have questions, I don't have answers. Clearly no manners, baby. I know you want it better.
Their suggested dry time in between coats is 2 to 4 hours. I waited 4 hours that first day on the base, but I started waiting 2 hours after that. I would just hop in the pool with my kids, do some other things because I really wanted to get this project done. And honestly, I noticed no difference between the 2 or 4 hours. When I waited the 2 hours, I wasn't like, ooh, gosh, I should have waited that full 4 hours. So I think you're okay to wait the minimum of 2 hours on this project. But if you want to stretch it to 4, it may be better, but I personally didn't notice any difference between waiting the 2 or the 4 hours, to be quite honest. And yes, those are bowls that I'm using to prop things up. I use bowls, I use cups, I use what I have when I'm doing a painting project because no one has time to buy special things. You're going to see me talking to my husband in this clip. And yes, I'm painting the front of the drawers on the drawers. I could not get these off. I couldn't get them off the first time I painted our cabinets. There are screws that unscrew, but I'm pretty sure the fronts are glued on. So I had to just kind of set them up here and paint them while they were connected to the drawers. Not the most convenient because it makes it way more bulky, but just know if you can't get your drawer fronts off, you can totally still paint them. Now, I did not paint the inside of the drawer front. I had already done that when I painted these cabinets white, and I wasn't too worried about it. No one's going to see it but me. We are on another day, and please ignore the state of my hair. Oh my goodness. I think actually this is the same day. I had gotten out of the pool. I had taken a quick shower. I didn't do anything with my hair whatsoever. And I came right downstairs to put the drawer pulls back on so I could get some of these drawers out of my dining room. So I did wait about 3 or so hours before I attached the drawer pulls. And I'm pretty sure it's going to leave an indent, but I did that the first time because I'm impatient. So I would suggest waiting a little bit longer to attach your drawer pulls, but I have no patience whatsoever. At this point in the process, everything was completely painted. And you may be wondering, there's no doors. Well, that's because I decided to order some soft close hinges. Finally here, y'all. I've been waiting days. I've been looking at these cabinets, open cabinets with no doors, for days. I'm so excited. Let's hope they fit. Let's hope I measured the overlay correctly, or is it inlay, overlay? I think it's overlay. I will link the video down below that I watched to figure out the overlay. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it, of my cabinets, if I did it correctly. So, oh my gosh, they look so weird. So they look like pretty, it's goopy. I don't know why it's goopy, but it's goopy. But they look pretty much the same. They're all goopy. I guess they're just supposed to be. There's hair in it. I don't know if that's my hair or their hair, but they look pretty much the same. Except for, I don't think these are gonna fit. I don't know. Oh gosh, now I'm nervous. Okay, we're gonna see what happens. I was actually able to unscrew those little backs because my doors already had those in place. Now, they do give you like drilling instructions when you purchase this from Amazon. The link will be down below. That if your doors don't already have these holes made, it tells you exactly what size to make them all. So if you have to do that, you're going to want to keep those little pluggy things on there. But for me, I already have this in my doors, so I did not need to keep those on there. And I will show you a close-up of how I took those off. Now, let me tell you, this was a struggle bus, but it wasn't the Hinges' fault. Putting on all cabinet doors by yourself as one person with only 2 hands, and you need one of those hands for a screwdriver, is always tricky. So I had a heck of a time getting all of these on. I forgot I had to take this drawer off. It was a whole thing. And at this point, I was just exhausted, and I was like, I want my doors back. Can I please have my doors back?
Under pressure, 'cause pressure's gonna get the very best of me. I give a little something, doesn't come for free. Oh, I know you have questions, baby.
The easiest way I found to take these off is just to take a pair of pliers, pinch it, and then take a drill and just go ahead and unscrew them. I found the drill was easier. A hand screwdriver, it wasn't getting enough torque. So I found that the drill was much easier for this process. But that's all that I needed to do. And like I said, I already had those holes in those similar plugs in my cabinet doors already. If you don't, you may want to follow the directions to make the appropriate size holes and leave those little plugs on.
Even if I try and try too hard, nothing's ever enough. Even if I try and try too hard, tell me what to do, say anything, yeah. Dive deeper, dive deeper, yeah. Dive deeper, dive with me, yeah. I know we could fly if we just try.
My phone died while I was doing this, and I didn't realize till like halfway through when I went to grab some more doors, and at that point I was already going. So we have them on. However, we have some hiccups. Let's check it out. As always, I'm listening to Bailey Sarian. So this one and this one will not close. So when you go to close it, it's not closing all the way. And even like if you go to like push it, it feels like it's gonna snap on the hinge. Now, I think I know why, and I'm hoping I have a solution for that one and that one. That one's closing just fine. So I think I have a solution that we're gonna try. Also, some of them are uneven. If you can kind of see, this is lower significantly, and then like the gap gets skinnier as it goes up. So I put them in the screw holes that were already in the cabinets from the previous hinges, so I couldn't really change that. However, these do have these two screws right here, one that moves the door up and down and one that moves it like this way, apparently, I guess in or out. So I'm hoping that by adjusting that we can kind of fix that unevenness. So we're gonna start down here first, and I'm going to explain real quickly what I think the problem is, and then I'm going to try and fix it. So let's take a look. So please ignore the trash, but it's my little trash can under here. So this side was the side that was fine. And, well, let me grab a hinge, hold on. So the part that goes like on the frame, I don't know if is it gonna focus? Probably not. Focus, do it, there it goes. It has like those little hooks right there, and those wrap around the frame, which works on pretty much all of them, except for down here at the bottom. So you can see it's supposed to go on like this thin frame, and it did up at the top and on the other side. However, down at the bottom, there is this piece where I guess they attached like an extra piece to put the drawer slide in, because I'm assuming this did not always used to be there. So it's not wrapping around it. So I think that the problem is this one is, it's not in all the way, but it closes, so I'm not gonna mess with it. But it was the same with the other hinges, where I think when they put them on, it had just made like an indent in there. When I was putting this one on, I could kind of see that there's like supposed to be, you're not gonna be able to see it. You're not gonna be able to see it, but there was a previous indent from the previous hinge, but it's not going in all the way. So that's what I think is throwing this one off, I'm hoping. And the other one, because the other one has the same. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a rubber mallet and a towel, just so I don't, you know, beat the heck out of the thing. And I'm just gonna put it over here, and I'm just gonna see if I can get it to indent a little bit more into the wood, so it's sitting a little bit more flush.
I know you were gonna get the best of me. Come a little closer, we can dive in deep. Oh, I'd rather be with you, baby. Even if I try and try too hard, nothing's ever enough.
This one is still not, that one's still not closing all the way. But my husband is still working downstairs. He's still clocked into work, and I feel like I'm just banging terribly, but I did manage to fix that one. So what we're gonna do now is we are going to try to even out these, like this one. Wow, that's like way off. So, and you can definitely see on this one, the gap there, and then it's basically like touching at the top. So we're going to try and even that out a little bit. This honestly was probably the hardest part of the entire project. And again, I don't blame it on the door hinges themselves. I think it's just trickier. Other door hinges had these adjustable things on them as well. And I also found it a pain in the butt to put those back on after I painted the cabinets the first time as well. So I don't think it's the hinges' fault. I highly recommend these hinges. They will be linked down below. Again, like I said, I highly recommend them. Great deal for the price.
Even if I try too hard, tell me what to do, say anything.
I feel like it's not working. It's not working. It's still way off, which is just weird. And also, like, when you do it, it almost just feels like it's making the screw hole bigger. Like it's moving it like up and down a little bit, but it's basically like tilting it, like it's doing like that, which I feel like is not going to stay put. I feel like it's just like moving it up and making the screw hole bigger, which is going to make it not as secure. So I may have to YouTube something because I'm not really sure what to do. I'm not really sure what this does. I guess this moves it like in and out, which might help the gap, but that's not going to help the up and down. Okay, so I managed to fix it a little bit more. It's still off and I've scratched it, so I have to touch it up because it was hitting over here on the wall. But I managed to fix the gap. This is still just, it is what it is. Sorry, my flash went off. My phone is dying again. I even took this door off and put it back on again, which I might do with this one. But I figured out here, the one that points this way actually makes it move like in and out from the cabinet. This is the one that you need to do to make it go left and right. So I did that one, and that helped with the gap. So, this one, the gap doesn't look too bad, but this still looks really bad. So I might have to take those doors off and try and see. I am going to fix the gap on that one really fast just by doing that and seeing what happens.
Deeper dive, deeper, yeah, dive deeper, dive with me. Yeah, I know we could fly if we just tried. If we just tried. So come on, baby, dive deeper, dive.
And here we have the final result. Now I know it's not a huge transformation because they started out white, but in person, it is a giant transformation. The whole room looks so much more fresh. And we are absolutely loving the soft close feature that we put on the doors. This was definitely a hit for sure. And I definitely would recommend Beyond Paint. I had a pretty good experience with them after I panicked for a little bit there at the beginning. But I am definitely going to use up the rest of the paint that I have on something else and maybe even purchase a different color to test in the future. So overall, completely happy with how this project turned out. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you found it useful or at least entertaining watching me struggle. Make sure you check out the video and the playlist on the screen. And as always, smash that subscribe button so you can become part of our YouTube family. Bye.